Hey, hello, everybody. Today we have Nathalie Alvarado with us, who is a marketing and business coach, and she is going to share lots of goodies with us. Welcome, Nathalie. Thank you for joining.
Thank you, Andrea, for having me. I'm super excited.
I know, me too, especially because I really like what you are going to tell us about. So let us know. So describe to us a little bit about what you do. What does your business look like?
Yeah, of course. So I'm a marketing and business coach. I help coaches and experts attract their best premium clients by elevating their message and their mindset. So I work with my clients on really helping them position their unique zone of genius so they can attract higher paying clients more consistently. Also clients that they really love working with and they're really aligned with what they feel fulfilled doing in their business.
Very cool. So as we all know, everybody here listening is more or less wanting to like dive deeper, go into something bigger, something that feels more aligned with them. And a lot of times that can feel scary. And one of the reasons is because a worry is, well, how am I going to attract these clients? If I'm up leveling what I'm doing, what can I do in order to make sure that I'm actually speaking to the clients that I need to be speaking with? And that's a really big concern, right? Because you've already built up this client base, you have kind of what you have going on, and then you're like, oh crap, I feel safe in here, and now I'm kind of shifting this. So, can you speak to that a little bit in terms of what to do in this scenario?
Yeah, well, I'm very familiar with that because I myself pivoted 3 times in my own business. So until I got to where I am now, so I understand that. I think first of all is acknowledging like if you're not, even though it feels like you're starting from scratch, you're not. Because as you said, you have past clients that you've worked with who could potentially be your next clients or who could refer you to clients who are a good fit. So I think like always reminding yourself of what you've built so far, always transfer a lot of those skills that you've been using into that new area you want is really good in terms of mind. I think it's a huge identity shift as well. So really making like that daily commitment and having that vision of where you're going, right? So it's not just about let me change my niche because it's easier because someone told me that that was going to be the right fit. What is your vision? 5 years from now, 10 years from now, like why are you really passionate about making that change and reminding yourself, going back to that vision day after day, week after week. So in terms of the mindset side and identity side, I think that's really, really important. Why are you doing that? Why it's important to you? And why do you want to make
Yeah.
I think
Mm-hmm. I'm going to pause on that to like dive deeper into that for a
yeah,
second, because this is a core thing when somebody is like, when my clients are pivoting, it takes a minute. You know what I mean? It's a process. And so you really do have to have the conviction. You have to really want it, and I was told like, you've done this before, you've gone from 9 to 5 into this business, you've pivoted, you've shifted, and now this new dream, like you need to be committed to it. And what is it going to take in order to step into this person, step into this identity that you need to have in order to make this come true and have this conviction? So I'm curious, on your end, what things have you done personally? Because I want to also get back into your own pivoting. What things have you done to stay in your conviction to actually see it through as you've pivoted your business?
absolutely. One of the main things is really having that clear vision of why I want to work with certain types of clients, why they're more aligned to what I'm really good at. And knowing it's not only for me, it's actually the best for the people that I'm here to support. It doesn't serve anyone. We're doing something that we're bored with or that our zone of genius isn't really there. Our clients will always achieve such more amazing transformations if we're really passionate, but we're also, like you said, we have that passion, we have that, and we're also facilitating the best results that we can. So just reminding myself of that daily has helped a lot. And also what you said, understanding who I need to become to hold that change, right? Whenever we experience big change transitions in life, we need to understand who we need to be, how do we need to be thinking, how do we need to be making decisions, how are we going to hold ourselves when our brain is telling us that maybe this wasn't a good idea. I think like anticipating those things and having like action plan, really understanding what are those thoughts and beliefs that really support us, rather than clinging on to maybe the thoughts that aren't going to support us, that are going to bring us down or make us think that this, isn't the path that we were meant to take. I think like I always say that having those thoughts, having our brain tell us the worst case scenario is normal, right? Like our brain always wants to solve a problem, but we don't have to choose that. We don't have to necessarily listen to it. Having those tools like breathwork for me has been insanely important. Like having tools to regulate my nervous system, EFT tapping, having a coach in that moment helps a lot. All helps you hold that identity, the decision that you've made in that moment, even if it's very challenging and it can feel scary.
Yeah. And I love the modalities that you mentioned, because I've done some similar ones and some different ones with the EFT tapping. That's a really good one. And with the breath work. And I've done a lot of like somatic things and just being like grounded in my body and like moving through the emotions and things like this. And your story of being prepared and knowing that, your brain is going to say things and, what am I going to do, and being prepared when that happens. It reminded me of, I used to, back in the day in my former existence, I was in a PhD program for clinical psychology, and I used to do smoking cessation, I don't say therapy, but smoking cessation programs. And this reminded me of this because this was a big deal with people who are trying to quit smoking or quit whatever, is to be prepared, to know, okay, these cravings are going to come up, and when they do, I have a plan to know what I'm going to do. And so it's a fun like parallel, right, to business. Like, okay, I know my mind is going to tell me these things, but what am I going to do when it does, so I don't fall back, down the hole of whether, smoking, or like, no, I'm not going to go on this path on my business. So yeah, I just thought that was really fun. Fun parallel there.
Definitely a parallel there. And I think, I don't know, in my case and for my clients, I think we find very helpful not like gaslight ourselves, in the sense like we never have a negative thought. Everything is going to be real unicorn. I think that's not real. We're human beings. But having those tools and, like you said, being prepared helps you, instead of spending 2 weeks in that thought, in a negative spiral, maybe it takes you an hour, and then it takes you 10 minutes, and then you continue evolve.
Yeah, and it's true. You made a really good point that it's true that when you put these things into practice, it's not that these thoughts don't come up, it's that you move through them quicker and you don't let them stop you, right? And and that's the piece that is so important, and the piece that they're, and just know, by the way, know that they're never going to stop because you're always growing and evolving. And every time you're growing and evolving, these thoughts are going to come up because your brain is there, your ego is there to protect you. And that means not doing anything unknown. And we're always doing unknown things. So every time we evolve, we're going to have, these thoughts are going to come up and try to keep us safe, quote unquote. And thank you for trying, but no, it's not scary. I'm going to do these things, and we're going to be prepared and know what we're going to do to move through and not push them back, but move through the thoughts. So yeah, so thank you for sharing that. I think that I had cut you off a bit, and I feel like there was another I wanted to dive deeper into this, but there was another thing you were going to say. I don't know, this was 10 minutes ago, so I don't know if you recall or if you want to move on to something else in terms of attracting your clients and when you are pivoting and moving into the new you.
No, that's totally fine. I was going to mention that part of positioning yourself in front of those higher level clients or different types of clients that you want to attract. And the question that I've asked myself and I ask my clients is, who is the person who would value the problem that you solve or your zone of genius the most? Because a lot of times we start speaking anyone who could be a good client. And the work that I do with my clients, especially when they're pivoting, is having that opportunity to ask themselves, who do I actually really I feel so excited to work with, and who would value this to a higher standard? Who would value this to a higher degree? So I think that question in itself can unlock so many clarity for you in that when you're in that space, so you can really identify who is the best person that you could possibly serve. And that's also going to want to pay you more and value your services or your coaching.
Yeah, amazing point. And this leads me to also think like, okay, so let's say they're pivoting, they want to reach new people, they're offering things that are a bit different than what they were doing before. So they're getting their positioning together and, figuring that piece out. They're writing content that is a bit different because now they're like, okay, I'm doing this new thing. Is your advice to your clients on what you did when you pivoted to just say, okay, guess what, guys? Announcement, I'm doing this new thing. Or are you taking them on the road, on the journey along with you? Like, how do you publicly, in terms of marketing, what is your advice for publicly sharing what you're moving into in your business?
Yeah, I always say that honesty is the best marketing, like just telling the truth to your audience, your potential client. I don't think dragging it out like in this whole process is necessary. But yeah, I do think that maybe making a live or a series where you're talking about your decision and why and who you want to serve, and even asking your audience, like, hey, I totally understand if this doesn't align with you any longer, if you could refer me or send my profile to someone else who you know would be a great, I would absolutely love this. And I just embodying having that conviction and that decision the earliest as possible in the process, because a lot of the times that can just like feel very dragged out. A lot of my clients can start to overthink or want to make it perfect, which is not what we wanted. But I do think like honesty in everything is the best solution for anything that change, anything that you want to say to your community or in your marketing.
Yeah, I love that because first of all, we're not in this weird age of, marketing was kind of like a little bit weird back in the day. And now really people are just valuing authenticity, right? And just being who you are and showing up who you are. So, and the thing that I love that you said as well is this tip of like, hey guys, like if this is not your journey, great. Like no hard feelings here, like no worries, right? And because it's true. And asking them, hey, if you do know somebody, like invite them along because I'm going to be talking about X, Y, and Z over here, and doing it that way and be like, okay, because I can be in service to these other people, and just making it so natural, and not making it such a big deal and not overthinking. Just do it. Just jump in, and this is it. This is what I'm doing now.
Because it is what you're doing. So they will, like our audience clients will always see it weird when we think or when we are making it a big deal. But the more natural that we can make it, the better the process will be for everyone. And I remember the biggest pivot that I did, I actually started as a parenting. I pivoted to business, which is a huge, I remember that was like 3 years ago. I spent literally 2 months not posting because I was overthinking the perfect way that it would the transition, that nobody would feel bad or that I wouldn't leave anyone behind. And in the end, it was just a matter of like putting up a post and saying, hey, like this, and everyone was happy for me. And some people left and some people stayed, but in the end, like wasn't what I was meant to do long term.
I love that. And I love that you shared, vulnerably that you also went through this of, oh my God, 2 months is a while of not telling people what's going on and thinking and thinking and thinking. And then finally, when you do it, it's no big deal. And I feel like this is the story over and over again for all these big things that we're doing. And I don't know if you remember, but I remember when I first started my business, I started as a VA. And so the thing that, I was advised to do was to write an email or a Facebook message or whatever and just tell everybody, say, okay, this is what I'm doing. If you know anybody, let me know. And I was like, oh my God, like having all these thoughts, people are going to judge me. They're going to be like, why is this girl reaching out to me? And of course, none of that happened, right? Of course, it was nothing but support. And if people didn't care, they just didn't respond, which was fine. And this to me has similar vibes, right? People are going to be happy for you. And if they don't care, then they're just not going to say anything. you're really like, nobody cares about you as much as you do, you know? So,
Exactly.
right? So, and this happens all the time. So I love that. Just do it. Like, get out of your head and just go and do the thing. And it doesn't have to be perfect. There doesn't have to be some like birth announcement or whatnot of your new business idea. You just start telling people, right? This is what I do now. Like, hang out with me still if you want to. If not, that's fine. So very, very cool. I also want to get into your pivots as
Yeah.
well. So a lot of times, so I'm talking to, like I said, like a lot of oftentimes done for you service providers, and sometimes they switch entirely into coaching, into a whole different realm. And that sounds very similar or sounds similar to what you were doing at first. So I'm curious if you can kind of talk about, okay, this is how I started my business, and these were the things that were happening in the background to make me really start thinking about, ooh, like, should I pivot into this thing instead?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So I started my business as a Montessori parenting coach because I had worked my family's school, Montessori school, for 6 years, and it was just something that I was very knowledgeable in. I also recently had my daughter, so it just all aligned. I knew I always wanted to have an online business, but I didn't know exactly. So I started down that. But always been an entrepreneur since age 14. Like I had several service businesses, product businesses. So it's always kind of like in the back there running. And when I launched my parenting coaching services, I booked them out in the first month. I had one of the clients ask me, well, like, I don't want to hire you as a parenting coach actually, because I love how you market yourself and make great content and how you build your services so fast. Like you're so good at it. And at the time I was like, oh, why does she want to hire me for that? Like I'm not a business coach. I took the leap. I challenged myself and she had incredible results. And I realized I actually like this. So that was, the reason why I decided to pivot into business coaching. After those 2 months of making the decision, I announced and I signed my first few clients. I went raising my prices as I went. And I realized that I wanted to niche down a little bit further because I noticed that the results that my clients were experiencing were very specific and high ticket sales and messaging. So I was really able to help them elevate their messaging and position them in front of the people who wanted naturally to pay them more for what they did and really fill their high ticket offers. So naturally, I just niched down to that, and that is what I do today. But it was definitely a process of working with clients, noticing which client I really love working with the most, and making those decisions and those changes as I went.
Very cool. So, can you also share some of your biggest hurdles when it came to this pivot or growing or scaling or things like this? Some of the things that kind of came up for you that like, oh yeah, this was a journey. This was something that I had to kind of deal with and get through.
Yeah, I think definitely perfectionism was something, especially at the beginning, that I really had to work on and do an identity shift and really get into this identity of someone who makes decisions faster. Like we were talking about, it's the messy action, even if it's perfect, like I had launches flop. I had a masterclass that I told that only one person showed up live. I had those situations because I've challenged myself to show up and continue creating bigger and bigger results. I think the second thing, which is funny because this is exactly what I help my clients with. Often we are our biggest blind spot. Is really letting go of the clients that weren't the best fit for me. So really letting go a little bit of that people pleasing or wanting to help everyone and understanding that not everyone is going to be the best fit for me, not going to be the best fit for everyone. And that's totally fine. And this is why there are so many coaches and service providers. And I really think that when we're very clear in our message to who specifically we want to attract, we have a better experience in our business. We make more money, but also our clients create better results. So that's something that it has been super important to me to grow.
Mm. Yeah, I want to go back to normalizing especially not even when you're new, but especially the first times that you do something, when you're launching something new, when you have these master classes, when you're growing, it is so normal to not knock it out of the park every single time.
A
And I remember I had a client who they launched something and the first time it was great. The second time, it wasn't. And then she was like, no, I'm not doing this anymore. I was like, well, hold on a second, right? Because it's not going to be great every time. And I just want to normalize that this happens at every level of business. So I have worked
absolutely.
with a whole lot, as an online, my, so like I VA'd, a certified online business manager, coach. This is my journey. So as a OBM, I've worked with so many 6 and 7 figure businesses, and they have flopped launches too. So I really want to just normalize that and not have people just have it mean more than it does, right? It doesn't mean that you don't know what you're doing or that you're terrible at this thing. It doesn't mean any of that. There are a gazillion reasons why it might not have been successful. And so I'm going to give my perspective. I'm curious about your perspective. And I've learned it's happened to me too, like this is part of the journey, honestly. This is just part of the journey. And I've learned to, even if it's just one person, to just show up and serve that one person
Exactly.
and use it as a learning experience. Okay, how can I improve? What can I grow for next time? Like, what can I do? But without it having to mean anything, and just take it as for what it is. So I'm curious from your perspective when that's happened, what you've done.
I love that so much because Esther was just talking about on my stories how that shows up on every level. Something that has really helped me mature and grow as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, is taking what the business is showing me as neutral feedback, like not making me only one person joined the mastermind, so that means I'm not capable or not worthy enough or whatever that we make it mean sometimes. It's just feedback. Okay, so what did I actually do? Like, look at the business objectively, and then next time tweak it and make it better, have better results. So I think that really helps you to grow faster and to have better results because you're not attaching a lot of the emotion and what it makes mean about you. So I think that's super, super important. I remember that for that particular masterclass where I had one person show up, she loved it because it was like a private experience, and it was so fun, for her. She learned so much. And in the end, it was just like, this doesn't need to mean anything if I don't make it, which is a little bit challenging sometimes in the moment. But the more you put yourself in those situations, the more you like.
I love, the term that you said, neutral feedback. I love that. So accurate. Like everything in business, neutral feedback. It just is what it is. This is what happened, and let's just keep going. I love it. Love it. So you are super passionate about attracting aligned clients and doing it through your messaging. What are your biggest tips in terms of doing that? Just it's a big thing. So is there anything you can kind of break down and give like one or two like really good things that you're, I don't know, that you love sharing with your clients about how to actually do that?
I love that. So I'm going to share two main things that are really going to create shifts for you. So the first thing is allowing yourself to be really specific in your language, which is something that I see a lot of coaches and service providers, like they feel a little bit in resistance towards because of like, oh, but what if I leave this person out? Or what if I leave that person out? So really, just like when you allow yourself to do that, actually become more accessible to the right people because they can actually see. So allowing yourself to deeply understand who it is that I'm speaking to, not only like they're a coach or if they're a mom or whatever they call themselves, but on a psychological level, getting to know them like the palm of your hand so you can go deeper in your content. So instead of over educating or giving like a lot of tips, sharing your knowledge, which is what we tend to do, is speaking to what that person is experiencing and desires, and more than like the superficial desire, what they truly want, like their emotions or what they truly desire on a psychological level, which is one thing that I do with my clients. But I often find that everyone can do this right now. Like you can literally grab a piece of paper and do this right now. But a lot of the time we stay like speaking to the superficial aspects of the person. So just like I encourage you to go a little bit deeper and dare to be really specific in the challenges that you're talking about, but also in the transformation. And the second thing that I always recommend is seeing your client in the most empowered and resourceful light. So a lot of the things that happen sometimes when we're attracting people that say the right thing, or they have an investment objection, or you're attracting clients but they're not committed to the process, like they're just going to the calls or in the service finding like they're always finding a problem, is that usually we're speaking to the disempowered version of speaking to the person who's stuck in resistance or fear, or only sees like the problem. They want to be saved. They're in like a big mindset. So like subtle like tweak and shifts in the message. So you're speaking more to their aspirational identity, like who they want to become, what they want to create, instead of only the problem that they're experiencing and how it's so hard, how it's so frustrating. So a lot of the times it can be really subtle, but that slight tweak can help.
Oh, like, I love these tips. And yes, you guys listening, if you don't do anything else in your life, like please implement these two things. Because honestly, if you go through social media, right, you can see the same messaging over and over and over again, because, right, the very general, and you're like, okay, I'm tired of it. And then when somebody does something different, you're like, oh, when they're so specific, you're like, oh, and it sticks out. And I guarantee you've had this experience. So, yes. And honestly, it's something that I've had to learn as well. And I think that, so let me use me as an example. If you're like, oh, this sounds like, can I do this? Yes, you can do this. I've learned it. You can learn it too. So like, it doesn't necessarily have to come naturally to you. And if it doesn't, you can go meet up with Nathalie. She will help you. And, but yes, so just keeping it in the back of your mind, be specific. And I love the speaking to the empowered version of your client. I just find it, so I want to say empowering, but it's very silly, but but like this, like it is, right? It's just very empowering. Like, yes, like we all got this, like we can do this. And it makes people want to take action, but in a ethical way, in a way that feels good and that they're excited, right? So, it's so good. So good. Amazing. Okay. Amazing. Is there anything else that you like have on your mind? Like, oh, I really want to share this thing that we haven't covered yet.
We covered quite a lot. I think
we did.
Anything else in terms of messaging? The only thing else I would say is like really allow yourself to use your unique voice. Speaking to what you were saying, like it all sounds the same. I stop like limiting your own consumption. Always create before you consume. Guarantee you that you're going to write a better piece of content or a better email, or you're going to record a better podcast, because you're actually leaning into what you're working with your clients and your unique perspectives and belief, instead of getting caught up in the noise and what everyone is saying.
Oh, beautiful. Okay, so please let everyone know, how can we stay in touch with you if they want to work with you? What do you have going on? How can we stay connected?
Absolutely. So I actually have a free event next week that you can register for. It's premium clients only. When this episode airs, it's already online. You can still register for it and get the replays. And you can find me on Instagram. I'm sure you'll drop it below the handle below. You can send me a DM and I would be happy to connect with you. In my link tree, you can find the information for one-on-one coaching. And I also have a messaging intensive as well, if you want to work specifically on elevating your message to a premium.
Love it. Thank you so much for being here, Nathalie, and sharing all of your magic with us.
Thank you so much.